Current City of Toronto bylaws indicate that group homes need to be 250 meters apart. Group homes, which often include people with disabilities, often have negative reputations. What would you do to ensure people with disabilities are given every opportunity to live in and be part of their neighborhoods? Mr. Pantalone.
Well, throughout all my political life, I always fought against people zoning, where you basically exclude people from areas. And I remember very well the discussions about group homes being allowed across Toronto, and I was pleased to support it and so forth. Now, I believe that the issue of distance requirements is an interesting one, because you have two elements here. If you really believe in spreading the wealth around, if you will, then you've got to make sure every neighborhood has its share of everything. So therefore, distancing requirements achieve that. Make sure there's no over-concentration of anything in a particular area, because people with disability or people who have group home needs are across the whole city of Toronto. So therefore, the distance requirement is intended to make sure there's that even and fair distribution, because people are evenly and fairly distributed. So that's so I support that on that basis.
Mr. Mammoliti.
Well, I've already got a bit of a head start here. I've created the housing charter that the City of Toronto, the first ever the City of Toronto has endorsed. That talks about the NIMBYism that exists in this city and the fact that we don't want to see it anymore. The committee that I chair, which is the Affordable Housing Committee, starts out each meeting talking about the fact that we're not going to listen to anybody that says that people shouldn't have the right to live in every pocket of the city, even if they have a disability. Every 5 individuals in this city have a mental illness. And whether you're being subsidized by government or whether or not you're being subsidized by your own families, they exist. So families within communities already see it, they have it, they just don't want to talk about it. And when it comes to government sponsorship, some people want to refuse it. And that cannot be a public statement. We must together say that NIMBYism has to be squashed and it shouldn't even be talked about at City Hall or on the streets.
Mr. Ford.
There's no need at all to have this criteria of 250 meters apart. I have many group homes in my area, and I welcome them with open arms. But you have to decipher between a group home and a rooming house, because as soon as they come into the neighborhood, people say it's a rooming house, it's a rooming house. It's not. Group homes are not rooming houses. You have to educate your constituents and say, listen, this is what it is, this is who they're benefiting. And people with disabilities should be on the top, number 1, in the priority list. So I have no problem. There's no reason to have this 250-meter distance between group homes, none whatsoever. There could be 4 in a row. Why not? It might even work better. But I don't believe in spreading them out. If you put them where they are, it doesn't matter. Everyone has the right to live wherever they please. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ford. Ms. Thomson.
Actually, I completely disagree with that theory because it hasn't worked. I believed in mixed use, mixed income, and diversity creates much more accepting neighborhoods. And I believe that negative reputations from group homes often develop because they're not integrated well into communities. My administration will work with people and organizations involved in the success of group homes, and we will call upon them to provide recommendations to us. Instead of telling people what we want them to do, we have to ask them. We have to get the informed people who know what's going on and know the best way of doing things to come in and suggest to us what needs to be done.
Mr. Smitherman.
Well, I found it interesting that Mr. Ford closed off with the words, he said everyone has the right to live wherever they wish. Only it came after words where he said unless it's a group home, or in previous debates where he said unless it's women seeking respite from domestic abuse. The fact of the matter is that mental illness, domestic abuse, disability, intellectual and physical, occurs in all of our families, in all of our communities, in all of our neighborhoods. And it is not a burden that we share, it is a responsibility that we share. And accordingly, I believe that we need to have policies which recognize that all parts of the cities have not an obligation, but a responsibility too, to try and take care of those that we love. I have, as an MPP, fought for places like St. Jude's Community Homes, which wish to open up a second home nearby a first one based on the most exemplary track record of giving meaningful life and opportunity to people suffering with mental illness, almost exclusively schizophrenia. These are the things that I fought for as a member of provincial parliament, in that case alongside Councillor McConnell. I fought with Councillor Ray in favor of the Salvation Army, and there are many, many people who oppose the inclusion of any of these things. I support
Thank you, Mr.
the inclusion of
Smitherman.
these in our neighborhoods.
That's time. Mr. Rossi, you get the final answer to question 4.
I simply can't begin to tell you how appalled I was by Mr. Pantalone's comments. The notion of spreading, I mean, where does that end? Does that say every 4th house can be Italian? Every 3rd house can be Greek? I mean, this notion of separate and equal is absolute nonsense. Either we have freedom, and this isn't about a responsibility, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity because people may be differently abled, but they're only handicapped when society handicaps them. There has to be freedom of movement. And it can't be treated like this is something that's got to, be handled in a special way. They have rights the way we do, and we have the opportunity to share that experience with our children and with society, and we should grasp it with both hands.
Okay, thank you, candidates.